Monsieur François Reybet-Degat, welcome to Marrakesh.
Thank you.
To Atlantic Dialogues. You are working in a very important mission, meaning refugees. Where are you active now?
Worldwide, UNHCR is active in over 100 countries and dealing with increasing levels of forced mobility. People, women, children, and men being compelled to leave their home country because of conflicts, because of situation of generalized violence. And we have seen in our broken world the number and the frequency of conflicts raising dramatically. And last year, UNHCR had to respond to an incredibly high number of emergencies. We saw the number of people forcibly displaced in the world double between 2000 and 2020 from 40 to 80 million people. And this number has now exceeded with the last refugee crisis has exceeded 100 million people.
100 million people is almost an abstract figure. One cannot imagine how that looks on the ground. If you look at Bangladesh, or you look at Myanmar, or you look at all these countries, it's not one country or one part of the world which is hit by refugee problems, but it's all over the world now.
Absolutely, and you were mentioning Syria. Syria has a population of 22 million people. Half of this population has been compelled to flee either within the borders of Syria or externally as refugees. And it is since 2011, over 10 years, it's half of the Syrian population. And there, you talked about Myanmar and the large number of refugees in Bangladesh, but also it's nearer to Morocco where this Atlantic dialogue is taking place, and it's the whole sub-Saharan Africa and a number of conflicts having new conflicts or reigniting conflicts. It is Ethiopia, it is Sudan, and now close to Egypt, of course, the situation in Gaza.
But the internal displacement, isn't that almost as big as the external escape of people going to another?
It is bigger.
Yes.
It is bigger, and people first flee within the country, and after, very often, the movement outside the country of origin comes after. We mentioned Syria. It's exactly what happened. In the first year of the conflict in Syria, people moved predominantly, fled their homes internally, and then crossed into Turkey, Jordan, Lebanon in big numbers as of 2013.
So, but if you look at these numbers, 100 million, they have to be provided with shelter and food each day. Who is financing all of this?
The UNHCR is an intergovernmental organization, and its role is to support governments. And countries provide asylum. And UNHCR stand to support countries who need the help.
But most of them need help.
Most of them need help. But if you, for instance, talk about the Ukraine crisis and the Syrian crisis, there is a difference in the level to which UNHCR would be involved, in the extent to which UNHCR would coordinate, and the extent to which UNHCR would be channeling funding. In Ukraine, it was very much in Europe a response led by the European Union and concerned European countries with some support from UNHCR and the international community. This support was more important in the context of the Syrian refugee crisis. So it is modeled according to where it's actually taking place. Also the rapidity with which a crisis is occurring, and the capacity of states to abide by their international obligations to provide asylum, and also to make sure that the very basic needs that you mentioned, food, water, hygiene, but also education and safety are provided for.
But how does it work if, let's say, a country like Yemen, it starts from one day to the other, there's violence, people start fleeing. How do you react? I mean, when can you intervene and when do you intervene?
We can intervene whenever it is possible. We always intervene in consultation with government or concerned authorities when territories are not controlled by a state actor. And we can intervene whenever our presence is required and whenever we can physically. There are places that at times we cannot intervene. Look at what is happening in Gaza. There are parts of Gaza that are not accessible, and in situations of conflict, the conduct of military activities, whether including states or non-state actors, would physically prevent civil society organizations, UN organizations from intervening.
And the people on the ground, who are these people who are carrying the loads of tents, of water, of food into the region? Are these members of your organization or are those volunteers you hire?
UNHCR by policy works and fund local organizations and international organizations, I mean NGOs. So wherever we operate, we would be supporting states and we would be supporting international and increasingly so national NGOs. So in a given country in Syria, we would be working with Syrian NGOs, we would be working with Yemeni civil society organizations that can include also local Red Cross and local Red Crescent movements. Okay. And we also work directly with the communities, but also we have modalities wherever it is possible. We have also important cash handouts programs whereby financial assistance for the most vulnerable goes directly from UNHCR to the communities, to the most vulnerable individuals through the banking system.
Let me ask you the last question. There's a war now in Myanmar and the former Burma. Do you go automatically to help them or you wait for somebody to call you?
It depends. In a broken world, there are many different situations, but UNHCR will always work with the request, at the request of the entity controlling a given territory, which is in most instances states.
Right. For you, last question, is there a country or an experience you've had which was unbearable and too hard for you to deal with?
I think I have been doing this work for 30 years, and in every emergency situation I have been in, there is always an unbearable part.
Thank you very much. Great pleasure. Thank you.